Good morning, everyone. My name is Pradeep Nizram. A very warm welcome to the SolidWorks Certification Program webinar. I'm a technical manager working out of Delhi office, and today we are going to talk about SolidWorks certifications. Most of you might have already been aware of these certifications, but we'll go a little bit into the detail, like what it takes to prepare for the certification program, how to go about it, and the finer detail, like what are the best practices that you want to do during the exam, and more importantly, what are the best what are the things that you need to avoid during the examination, etc. So I think we are right on time. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you'll carry something out of this webinar today. I have content worth of 40-45 minutes, not more than that. Just a couple of instructions before we get started. If you are not able to hear us, or if you are facing some technical difficulties, please feel free to let us know using the questions window. And after the webinar, I'll get to the Q&A, so you can ask me anything and everything about these webinars. So without further delay, let's get started. A little bit of overview and history about the SolidWorks certification program. This was started in the year 2003, if I'm not wrong, and we are 10 years into it, and it's been a tremendous success when you look at the certification programs hosted by different CAD software providers like other CATIA and ProE, etc. SolidWorks has been a tremendous success in any standards. In the year 2003, when they started the certification program, it was an 8-hour mammoth test, which costed a bunch, and it was proctored, which means you have to take the exam at an authorized testing center. And the minimum passing grade was 80, and there were a lot of concerns about this kind of format. But as it evolved, as the program evolved over the years, they have made it much simpler and much much more effective way of doing it. Not that the standard has dropped or anything, but the ease with which you can take the certification, or the flexibility. I mean, these things have improved drastically. You can see on my screen I have an evolution from the year 2003 to the year 2013. So now it is a 3.5-hour exam as compared to the 8-hour exam in 2003. Previously it was one giant exam, covering everything from part modeling to assembly and simulation. But now they have broken it down into segments, and these segments also are short and crisp. So you can address these segments at your own comfort, at your own convenience, and these exams now can be taken from anywhere. Even from the comfort of your couch in your living room, you can take this exam. You don't have to come and be physically present at authorized testing center. The minimum passing grade is 75%. I have just compiled a bunch of logos of the certified professionals from the year 2013 to 2013, and as you see, as the program evolved, the logos also have changed quite a bit. I had some a couple of poll questions just to get a sense of the audience, just to get a feel for the audience, so that I can tune my presentation accordingly. Before we do that, I'll just explain the agenda. What I wanted to do was just to run through a couple of slides giving you an overview of the certification program, how it works, and what are the segments, what they cover, and all these things. And then I have one interesting a 10-minute segment where I'll show you some tips to increase your speed, or let's say increase your productivity during that particular exam. So I think that will be helpful. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly launch a couple of poll questions, which will give me sense of the audience, so that I can tune my presentation accordingly. Okay. So I'm gonna launch the poll. So you will see question on your screen. So please feel free to answer the question. You can use your mouse keyboard to answer these questions. I'll also display this result so you can also see, um, the responses to the audience poll questions. The first question is, are you a certified SolidWorks user? SolidWorks certifications are of three different categories. CSWA, you can say three different levels. CSWA, which is associate level, CSWP, which is professional, and CSWE, which is expert. So I'll just leave it on for a couple of more seconds and then I'll take it off. Yeah, I think 87% of the votes have got 87%. So let me just close the poll and share the results with you. Majority of you are not certified. A small chunk of you are certified. So maybe you are on CSWA and you are looking to migrate to CSWP, or from CSWP to CSWE. Either way, I think you can carry something back from this webinar today. So let me close this poll. Second question I wanted to ask you is what will actually help me in tuning the presentation today. So there's a second question on your screen. So if you can just answer this, it'll help me, fine tune my content or my presentation accordingly. This particular question, I would like to identify the audience, into which zone of experience they are in. So there's a vast difference of addressing an audience who was fairly inexperienced to, who are fairly experienced. I'll leave it for another 5-10 seconds and then I'll take it off. So please feel free to vote. Yeah, I think I got my responses. So let me close the poll now and let me share the results. Okay, so majority of the audience are falling into the fairly inexperienced zone, but I think that's a good sign, because there is no hard and fast rule that you have to wait till 1 year or 2 years to start your certifications. It's all about the comfort level that you share with the with the program, and then the ease of use, or the familiarity that you have with the program. So there's no hard and fast rule as such, but again, I would highly recommend those of you who are ready to immediately start working towards your certification goals. There are some tangible benefits. I'll talk about them a little bit later, but for now let's just assume that every one of you should start working towards your certification goals, no matter in which experience zone you are in. So let's move on. So there were a couple of concerns from the past, the previous exam formats. So I told you, that it was an 8-hour exam back in the day. So people were complaining about the length. I know some of my colleagues who have been through this process, so they had to skip lunches and they have to sit tight for 8 hours just to get through this exam, and it was it's tiring, and it's taxing at the same time. And if you fail the exam, you have to restart the complete process again, which is not fair at all. So SolidWorks have looked into this. They heard the feedback from the customers, and they changed. They made some changes to get to the certification to where it is today. And one of the concern from the previous exam was, the exam did not actually require the user to use SolidWorks. What they used to do was they used to give you a 2D drawing, and they asked you to calculate, or create the 3D part and get the mass out of it by applying the material or the density. So in a way, people who are comfortable using other softwares, they used to do that, but now they have restricted that part of it. And previously there was some simulation express questions. For those of you who are not aware of what simulation express is a finite element analysis code built into every sheet of SolidWorks. It is capable of doing linear static analysis of at a component level. So for those of you, the users who were not familiar with Simulation Express, they had a concern, so they addressed that particular part too. And the assembly questions in the previous exam were focused too much on this in context modeling. So again, now it's not a concern anymore because they removed the in context modeling part of it for majority of it, I think, because everyone has their own style of working. So you cannot really force someone who's not into in context assembly modeling to do that just for the exam. So, and SolidWorks always has this progressive questions. I'll talk about this when I get into the detail. Basically, progressive questions are something like, you gradually build on top of the first question. Like question number 1 will ask you to create a part and calculate the mass properties of it. Okay. So the second, third, and fourth questions will be basically adding more features or removing some features, or changing some parameters to get a new the new mass properties. So you gradually build up on your first part. So users can easily go off the track if they get the first question wrong. Question number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, everything that are basically progressive in nature will obviously be wrong. So they got to that part, they answered that, they handled that part of the concern very effectively. I'll show you how. So now let's look at how the new exam addresses these concerns that we talked about. The new test, the new certification can be taken in 3 different segments, so you don't have to sit for stretched periods. What you can do is you can schedule it conveniently based on your comfort level or convenience, and then you can address each segment at once. And again, if you fail a particular segment, you only have to repeat that particular segment. You don't have to take all the 3 segments again. And the user can take segments in any order, so you have additional flexibility there. Many questions have downloaded models, so this essentially restricts the users from using other CAD softwares. No more simulation express questions, so you don't have to be a finite element analysis expert. No more in context assembly. I think there's a little bit of in context assembly editing, but not too much. So you have more realistic assembly questions. You have multiple choice answer, multiple answer questions. So this is to reduce the progressive errors that I was talking about. We still have the progressive questions, like you gradually build on top of the first base part that you do, and then you add new functionality, or you remove new features, remove the existing features, or you make some parametric changes in the models, solid models. But what they did was they essentially planted some checkpoints, with the help of multiple choice questions. So let's say question number 1, 4, and 8 are multiple choice questions. So what happens is you can be sure if you're on the right track or not. So if your question number 1 is a multiple choice questions, you essentially know if you're on the right track or not, because you can match your answer with the 4 choices you have, as opposed to having a text box where you just key in your value. Question number 2, 3, and 4, 2 and 3 might be text boxes. It really doesn't matter, because since you got the first one right, 2 and 3 will also be right. So that's the way it is modeled. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows this, but let me just put it out there. There are 3 levels of certifications available for the users as far as MCAD is concerned, mechanical CAD is concerned. The first level is associate levels. They call it CSWA, Certified SolidWorks Associate, and it is a very fundamental exam for, I would say, someone who is who has just finished learning SolidWorks. And this is more towards the aimed or targeted towards the academic community, where students who have SolidWorks as part of their curriculum, they are they can make the best use of this. What it exactly tests is basic part modeling and basic assembly skills. I think nothing in depth. But the ideal starting point for all of you who are in today's webinar, I think, because you are at some professional level working with SolidWorks on a day-to-day basis. So the ideal starting point for all of you would be CSWP, Certified SolidWorks Professional. As I said, it is 3-segment exam. We'll talk about the segments in the next coming slides. It is not as fundamental and as basic as CSWA. Here you need some intelligent, you need to follow an intelligent or a smart modeling approach where you'll be using equations and variables. Since the whole thing is parametric, you have to make the best use of it. You need to have a fair sense of design intent, how to preserve design intent, how do you deal with assemblies. Not huge assemblies, but even though assemblies are small, you need to know how they work, how to make the best use of it, and of course the speed is again important parameter that they check, because to make a simple design change you cannot take 2 full days. That defeats the purpose of having a powerful solid modeling software like SolidWorks. So what they essentially do is they'll put you into situations where you need to make some design changes, or where you need to use your use the best make the best use of all the capabilities of SolidWorks to get the work done faster and more accurate, in a very accurate way. So this is CSWP, and then we have a very elite certification called CSWE, Certified SolidWorks Expert. This is the highest level of certification that is there today. As far as MCAD is concerned, as far as the user community is concerned. I'll show you the numbers a little bit later, but I can see that it's a very, very small and elite community. There are some prerequisites, like you need to be CSWP, and you need to have some advanced certifications of CSWP, like sheet metal, weldments, surfacing, mold design, finite element analysis, and drawings, etc. So you need to have at least 4 of those 6 advanced certifications along with the CSWP core to be eligible for CSWE. And CSWE itself is a 3-hour exam with advanced functions and features that you need to be very, very familiar with to solve some of the complex modeling problems. And it's a very challenging exam, and if you do not clear this exam, there's a waiting time of 6 months before you even attempt it again. I think the waiting period for CSWP is, I think, 2 weeks or something like that. It's very small. So let's talk about the detail now. Most of today's webinar, I'll be talking about CSWP, the core exam, which is which is split into 3 segments. And I'll also touch upon the other parts, like some of the best practices here and there. I think those can be applied to all levels, irrespective of where you are. They are even beneficial for people who are already CSWPs and who are looking into advanced certifications like sheet metal or weldments. So this is the first segment, CSWP segment 1. In this, you basically have to create a part. You have to start creating a part from a drawing that they give. I have some screenshots of that will give you a fair idea of what kind of drawing or what kind of images that you can expect. So basically the system throws out a bunch of images. What you need to do is start modeling it in 3D, And as I said, you have to use linked dimensions and equations and variables to help you in this modeling. Can we avoid them, and can we just use our just a basic solid modeling approach to create the 3D model? Yes, you can. Even the answer for question number 1 will be right, but it will definitely not help you to answer question number 2, 3, and 4, since they are progressive questions. So using of linked dimensions, equations, and variables, this will help you in just editing the values and getting the answers for question number 2, 3, and 4, so on. So for those of you who are not familiar with these equations, I highly recommend you get started. It's a very healthy and good practice to use them. As I said, this will help you in updating the parameters and the dimensions for the next problem. So basically, what you have to do is create a part from the drawing that they give, and they'll ask you to calculate the mass properties, like the mass or the center of gravity. I think that's about it. So you can see in the images that I have used some equations. I have used some variables, linked dimensions, etc., to help me in this modeling. So in a way, you're preserving the design intent. So even if you make those changes, you are assured that the parts or the features won't fail, and your sketches and everything are intact. In the segment 1 for the progressive questions, they'll ask you to make some changes. Like in this case, in this picture that I'm pointing to, you have some squares or rectangles pointing out to certain areas in this model. So what this is doing is, what SolidWorks is trying to tell you is, I'm going to ask you to make some changes, and the changes will be asked in this area, section AA and section BB. So they'll talk about what to do, what kind of changes they ask you to make, etc. They'll give you all the information that is needed. So that is question number 1. A little small tip I have here is, as I said, it is wise if you take care of the multiple choice questions, so that you know that you're on the right track first, and then the rest of the questions, the rest of the build up of the progressive questions, you can just change the values and get the answers. So my advice is, first get the multiple choice questions right, and compare your answer with what you have on the screen. Your answer should be within 1% of the stated value before you move into the next section to modify the original part. If your answer is more than 1% off, then please go back, check what double check everything like dimensions, etc., so that maybe you have missed a fillet, or maybe you have missed a chamfer here and there. Even a small detail like this can throw you off. So if your answer is more than 1% off, I recommend you go back and verify your modeling approach and all the dimensions and the features. So that's about segment number 1. Segment number 2. Here, this is a small exam. It's only 40 minutes long, and this will focus on configurations. I think most of the exam is about configurations and design tables. If I have to sum up this segment 2 in 2 words, that would be configurations and design tables. So in this segment, you need to they'll ask you to create configurations from a base configuration, and how do you switch between configurations, how do you suppress features or add features in across configurations, and then again they'll ask you to calculate the mass or the center of gravity to verify your answers. So for those of you who are not using configurations, it's very important that you have you're not just familiar with it, but you are very comfortable with configurations and design tables. One more thing is, make sure that you have Microsoft Excel installed on your system before you attempt segment number 2, because design tables use Microsoft Excel, embedded spreadsheets. So you need to have Microsoft Excel. So that's one tip I can, or a precaution that I can throw you out throughout. So a couple of things that that are important in the segment. One is speed and accuracy. Okay, so you need to be quick since it's only 40 minutes. You'll hardly realize even before your 40 minutes is up. So you need to be very fast and very accurate at the same time. And this comes with practice and nothing else. How configurations work? Yeah, you need to have in-depth knowledge on these things. So you have fantastic tutorials and you have fantastic content on the web that will take you through the configurations, a part of SolidWorks. And one more important tip I can give you is save your work. Okay, this is very, very important. As I said, the questions are progressive in nature. So question number 1, 2, 3, and 4, all of them are basically talking about the same component. Okay, but some design changes from question to question. So what I recommend is you save your work not just periodically, but for every question. Like first finish question number 1, save it as save the part as Q1, and when you finish question number 2, don't overwrite on Q1, but save it as a new file as Q2. You can use save as or save as copy, whatever you are comfortable with. So what this will do is when you're done with your exam and when you want to go back and check, it will really help to have separate part files for each. And I think that's about it. Segment number 2, they'll ask you to add in some features, suppress some features, grab a mask, throw it in, you're done. And most answers here are in free format. Like there'll be a text box where you need to key in. So this will limit your checkpoints. Like there is no checkpoint here that you can. So you need to be absolutely very careful of your work. I think that's about segment number 2. And then segment number 3 is all about assemblies. So here it's you'll be asked to create a part. I think a very basic part modeling exercise to start the segment, and then they'll give you some components that you have to download and create an assembly out of. So the skills that you need here are basic assembly modeling skills. Like you need to be familiar with the mates, not just the basic mates, but the advanced mates like the width mate or maybe a hinge mate. So just brush up your mating techniques before you take this exam, and you need to use features like interference detection, collision detection, all this basic assembly modeling skills, I would say. One more important thing is you need to be aware of how to create a coordinate system inside SolidWorks. So there will be a default coordinate system, and SolidWorks will ask you to create a new coordinate system and place it somewhere on one of those components, so that the answers will be like calculate the center of gravity with respect to the new coordinate system that you have created. So this is very important. So I think everybody should should know this. And you also need to be familiar with what a flexible assembly is, because some of the questions, I think 1 or 2 of them, will ask you to make the subassembly flexible, so that you can simulate the relative motion between the components. So I think that's it about this CSWP segment number 3. One important tip I have here is, even in the middle of the exam, the help menu always helps. So if you are in doubt, just open the help menu and it will definitely help. But again, at the same time, you have to keep in mind that, there's a time constraint, and you need to be really quick, accurate, and that's how you beat the exam. So that's about segment number 3. I have compiled a list of best practices that you need to do, that you need to follow during the exam. This is an exhaustive list. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. What I'm planning to do is share this document with you so that you can go through it on your own. I'll just go through some of the important ones. Okay, there is a sample exam that is available on the SolidWorks website. I'll show you where it is, where you can download it from. So what I recommend is, simulate this exam before you take the real ones. Simulate a test kind of environment where you actually sit down in front of a computer and do this sample exam, so that if you get everything right, then take the SolidWorks CSWP segment 1, or go back and look into where areas where you went wrong. Maybe you need some more practice. So there's a segment sample exam. If you are able to finish this sample exam within the time that is mentioned on that, I think you're all set with segment number 1. Unfortunately, there is no sample exams for segment number 2 and 3. So I think what you can do is, with the help of information that I'm giving out today, you can just go and practice all those topics like configurations, design tables, or advanced mates, or maybe something like collision detection, creating a coordinate system, etc. I think that's about it. As far as the deviation is concerned, it's more or less 1%, I would say. So don't expect SolidWorks or the system to give you points if your answer is more than 1% off. And you need to use linked values for variables, equations, these things. I'll show you how to use them. But I don't see you getting through the segment number 1 without using equations or linked variables. It will be really tight if you follow or if you avoid using of equations and linked variables. Create a folder and save your work at different points. One more important tip I have is, people always look for a workstation with high-end performance. I would say it's not at all required. Take the system take this test on a system that you're comfortable with, you're familiar with, because that will have all your settings that you're comfortable with, your mouse gestures or your shortcut menus, everything is set. So there's no point taking a test on a high-end system, because you won't be given 500 part assembly or 800 part assembly. It will be just a small component modeling, small assemblies. So that's about it. Read the questions very carefully. I mean, these are all very obvious things that apply to any exam, I guess, but especially for this, since you'll be crunched for time. I mean, there are instances where I saw people not reading the question completely. They assume that, okay, I know what they're asking, and they'll just go on to the modeling. So avoid doing that. Just read the question once. It will hardly take a minute, and plan or prepare a strategy on how to attack that particular question before you go to SolidWorks. I'll show you how to do that. And one more important tip, I think, is this is very important. Don't use the images that are given or thrown out on the system. Don't take it for granted that they are to scale. They are not to scale. So the dimensions that you are given, if the final end product that you see on your screen and if the end product that they are showing on the image are completely different, don't worry about it. That might be because of the dimensions. Because SolidWorks follows this variables, they'll give you values for A, B, C, D, and E. So you need to basically, these values are generated by the computer. So don't worry about it if the image looks drastically different. I think that's about it. Yeah. Yeah, just make sure that you're using the version of SolidWorks there, that is mentioned on the website. When the last time I checked, it was you must use at least SolidWorks 2008 SP3 or newer, because if you use, let's say, SolidWorks 2007, you might not be able to use some of the features that they expect you to use. So I think these are the best practices. I'll talk about some of the tips and tricks to improve your productivity, but before that, I think I'll show you the sample exam. I think it's very important to show you how things work. So I told you how that I'll show you where you can download the sample exam. So just go to the SolidWorks website. I'll just wait for some more time. The screen delay. Okay, so now you are on the SolidWorks website. So when you scroll down, you see something called as supporting users, and in that you can see there is something called as certification. In the bottom pane, you have something called as certification. So click on that, and it will take you to certification homepage where you have different types of certification. So top 3 are MCAD, mechanical CAD certifications, CSWA, CSWP, and CSWE that we are talking about, and we have EPDM and other certifications. So at this point, I'll just click on CSWP. In the next page, on the right pane, you have something called as sample CSWP exam. So just click on it, and you will get a PDF document, which is a sample for segment number 1. Okay, so this is a sample exam that I want everybody to go through and just follow all these instructions, and when you finish 4 out of the 5 questions correctly in 30 minutes or less, then you should be ready. You should be all set to take the CSWP exam. You have answers on the last page and some hints also, I think. So what we'll do now is I'll take the sample exam, and I'll answer, or I'll try to create the part using all the best practices, or the right approach, the modeling approach. So I have split my screen into 2. On the left half we have SolidWorks 2013, and on the right I have a PDF document. One more tip is, if you have access to dual monitors, please use that. That will be tremendously helpful, immensely helpful. So at this point, since I'm sharing my screen for you, although I have a dual monitor, I want to show both the views as well as the solid drawing as well as the solid model at the same time. So this is the sample exam. So they'll give you a bunch of views: front view, side view, top view, section views, even an isometric view. I think the isometric view really helps. And this is the question. So go through the question. It says build this part in SolidWorks. They talk about the unit system, the decimal places, part origin is arbitrary. They talk about the material that you need to assign, and they gave you some values from A to E, and F is a whole wizard detail, and there are 2 equations, X and Y. They gave you some hints. Basically, they are asking you to use length dimensions and equations and variables. And it's a multiple choice question. You have to get the mass of this part. So let's get started and see how we can model it quickly, and at the same time maintaining the accuracy. So first tip is use templates. You saw the unit system was MMGS, so I have templates for different unit systems, so I don't have to waste time setting the units. So pick the right template and make sure that you are on the right unit system. And up next, before even I start creating any detail, any sketches, what I'll do is I'll go to Tools, Equations, and add some equations, basically variables. So it's very easy to create variables. I'm going to create variables from A through E before I create the equations. So don't worry about the units at this point. It's not really important because our global unit system is anyway in MMGS. So D would be 130, and the last variable E is 41. And equations. There are two equations that you need to create. So first one is x is a divided by 3, and the next one would be y. This is b over 3 plus 10. So you can use parentheses here. So you can see the evaluated values. I think looks good. One more thing is, don't use this automatically rebuild. I'll tell you why. So make sure that is unchecked. So once your variables are added, I'll start sketching now. So I'll use the top plane. So basically I have a strategy to start from ground up. I'll create this base plate and then add the detail later, like cylinders and etc. later. So I'll use a lot of shortcut toolbars. Here I'm pointing out to you mouse gestures. This is one of my favorite shortcuts in SolidWorks. So create a basic rectangle, start dimensioning it. This would be A. You can see the detail is given A by B. So this is a basic sketch. You can add the fillets here, but I would like to do it using Fillet Expert. So what you can do is you can just extrude this to a depth to a height of 25, thickness of 25 millimeters. And there's some more detail that needs to be added, especially this particular part. I think it's better to add it now. I'm using a rectangle, but a different type of rectangle now. And I'm going to add an equal relationship and then dimension it. This would be 60 millimeters. So this is a fully defined sketch. Before I get out, I would like to add a sketch fillet here of I think 15. So you need to check, or you need to check for the dimensions in different views. And the thickness of this would be 10. And now I'll use Fillet Expert to create this fillets. So basically 4 places. But I'll use the SolidWorks contextual menus like Fillet Expert and the right mouse button to accept this. And the next feature would be to create some I am using some construction lines and quickly dimension them, or rather position them. This would be C if you look at in the views. This also would be C. And I need some solid lines here, so again I'm going to go to my line command. What I'm doing here is creating 2 lines using click drag approach. There are 2 approaches. One is click drag click, and there's one click drag, sorry. So what this will do is it will save you one more step of hitting escape. And the dimension of this line would be 80. I added an equal relationship, and I need a circle here, and basically trimming away the unnecessary detail. And you can see that the sketch is overdefined. At this point I don't go about sweating trying to figure out what is wrong. At this point I'll just see what SolidWorks has to say. I'll accept one of these, and the sketch is fully defined. If you want to make sure, just drag some sketch segments that you are not sure of. At this point I want to use something like an offset just to save some time. The offset here would be 15 millimeters, and I have my select chain selected, and see how I'm using the right mouse accept. I think that's one of the easiest ways to quickest way to accept and move on to the next part. So the thickness or the height of this would be 95 from the bottom, so but we are doing it from 25, so you can just accept this. And up next I need to remove some material here, so I'll just quickly create a sketch. and I need to create an offset, but the dimension are 9 and I want it to be reversed. And at this point I'll create some sketch fillets of 10 millimeters each at 6 corners. You can do this using Fillet Expert as well. It's completely up to you. And just remove this using cut extrude. I want it to go to there's only 5 millimeters left, so 25 minus 5, that would be 20. If you are in doubt, just make sure that you're covering all the dimensions. At this point we're almost done except for creating these 2 cylinders. I need some reference geometry here, and I need to create one more. Here I'll use the recent commands menu instead of going and pulling down the menus. You can use the recent commands menu if you have used it already. Create a new sketch, use mouse gestures to launch the circles and dimension it. This would be X, and extruded. You don't have to come out of the sketch, you can directly launch the extrude command. This would be 130 millimeters, but we need to link it. That we're going to do. You can see that both the cylinders are dimension D, so we'll just edit the dimension. And we'll create one more, or maybe first we'll remove the material here. I'll create one more sketch, wake up the center and dimension it. This time it's E. The ID is same for both the cylinders. And you can use the right click menus. This is a through all hole. And the second cylinder, similar approach, similar use of mouse gestures, dimensioning, smart dimension. This would be Y. If you're in doubt, just make sure it's Y and E. So extrude it to 130, reverse the direction and accept it. But make sure that you're linking it every time it is mentioned as a variable. Make sure you link it, because even if you miss one, your follow-up questions will be gone for a toss. Finally, we'll remove some material here. Wake up the center. And dimension it to E. And make use of your shortcut menus to make it a through all. Accept it. And finally, we need to add some I think we linked it to the wrong dimension. This would be D. You can just rebuild it. There you go. And finally, we need to add chamfers. I don't need to see the planes now. I'm just quickly removing it, hiding it. And the chamfers are 2x45. So you can just select the chamfers, accept them. And applying material, I have a list of favorites. So I have used the material here. And finally, I have one hole wizard to take care of this hole. So select the type of the hole, all the specs, even some custom sizing is asked for, and finally position it. Position it a little bit off, and then I'd like to go to normal view and then dimension it. So these dimensions are, I think, 30 each, because our square was of 60. But when in doubt, always go back and check. Okay, so that's our whole wizard. And now just go to your evaluate tab to get launch mass properties. And here you have your mass 14207.35. You can just match it. So 14207.34. So there's 0.01 grams, which is very negligible. So you can move on to the next part, but before you do, make sure that you save it. Save it as something like Q1 or solution 1, and then you can go to the answer. I mean, I'm just showing the answers here. 14207.34, and we got 14207.35, I think. So I think this is the quickest way, by using the shortcut menus and other things. Couple of other things I wanted to show, I think, were if you have to use some particular command, and if you don't know where it exactly is, what I would do is I'll use this command search. This is very helpful if you're using 2012 or above. You have this command search built into SolidWorks. So instead of going and working on or launching different menus, pull down menus, what you can do is you can use the command search to launch a command. And I would highly recommend using mouse gestures and keyboard shortcuts. These are very, very, very useful to speed up your modeling or sketching process. Even for assemblies, I think it's very useful. I think that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you this tips and tricks to improve your speed. So I used shortcut toolbars extensively. I used mouse gestures throughout the process. Command search, I did not use it, but it'll always come handy. This one is very useful. Right mouse button accept. So there are multiple ways to accept or click or say OK. When you're into a particular feature or into a particular command. So SolidWorks will at times show you this icon. So which means you can just right click on your mouse and the settings will be accepted. Use templates to make sure that you're in MMGS or inch templates. Material favorites is again heavily useful. If you remember, I didn't have to go into the SolidWorks material library. What I had to do was just right click and pick the material. You can customize your command manager tabs. Use the recent commands menu. This is also very useful. And I heavily recommend using experts, sketch expert, fillet expert, all these experts. They're there for a reason. Fillet expert is fantastic. You don't have to select all the 4 different edges. SolidWorks will help you in those selections. Sketch expert, you saw when the sketch was overdefined, how I used it to help me help me fix the sketch. So without using all this, you'll be easily off, or by as far as your time to model is concerned, I think you would have to spend somewhere between 1.5 to 2x. So which means I might have done it in 8 or 10 minutes. So if you do not use all this, you might be taking 15 to 20 minutes. So this is the sample exam that I just worked on. So practice all these things, incorporate all these tips into your modeling techniques, modeling approaches, and then when you're ready, when you feel that you're ready, take the CSWP sample. There is more than one CSWP sample. The one I have done is the latest. So if you just go and look for CSWP sample, you'll get 2 or 3 different PDFs. One is 2008, one is 2010. So you can use all of them to practice. A little bit about this certification process. So when you register for the exam, you need to you'll be asked to download a particular application called Virtual Tester by Tangix. So when you download and when you install this, there are some settings. So here I'm showing how do you set English as your default language, and you need to create your virtual tester account So if you are doing it for the first time, create an account with your first name, last name, company details, email ID, address, city, all these things. The reason is when you finish your certification, you'll get a directory listing. I'll talk about the directory listing also. So save your password, keep it handy for future use. And event IDs. In the next screen, you will be shown what are the exams that you have purchased or you are eligible to take. So if you are a subscription customer of Beacon, subscription customer of SolidWorks, rather, you can approach your reseller or us, if it is us, for event IDs. We'll help you in generating these event IDs for you. So these event IDs will unlock a specific or the relevant exam that you are you're about to take. And this is the exam information screen. So read the instructions. The timer won't start until and unless you click the start examination button. So make a note of this minimum passing score. Make a note of this exam time. And this is a summary screen. Basically, you'll be shown what are the problems that you're handling and what are the and did you already answer it or not, and how many points is it for. So this is a very good screen. You can anytime in the middle of the exam go back to the summary screen and check where you are, and then again you can come back. You can double click on this particular row item to go to that particular problem. And of course the final screen, when you submit your results or when the time is up, it will automatically end the exam for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So this is a screen like most of us would like to see, everything green and with a congratulatory mark. And you can download your certificate then and there itself. It will be a electronic certificate, and you'll also get online directory listing from SolidWorks. There is something called as a certification portal, SolidWorks certification portal, where every single SolidWorks certified user is listed. So if you want yourself listed on those directories, please, there are some settings that you need to take care of, like you can also be invisible, I guess, but that defeats the purpose. So you'll also get, apart from the certificate, electronic certificate, you'll also get the business card and email signature logos. So this is the certificate, electronic certificate. This is how it will look like. Even the certificates have undergone some modifications over the years. This might not be the latest. And you'll also receive this business card and email signature logos that you can put on your business cards or email signatures, or even your resumes if you're looking for opportunities. You know, these are things that will definitely catch the eyes of potential employers. This is a recognition. This will definitely add value to your existing profile. And the numbers, this is something I wanted to talk about. You can see the numbers. These are India numbers. So you can see the number of CSWEs is astonishingly low. Even the number of CSWPs, you know, when compared to the number of users we have in India, is astonishingly low. We are just, I think, about 1% or no 10% of what US numbers are. And there are some special events at SolidWorks World, and even some local events that we do here. You know, we'll make sure that, you know, we meet all the CSWPs, and we have some special events where you get some insider information and some knowledge sharing, tips and tricks, etc. You have user groups that you can participate in to share to gain information. So a lot of advantages. I think that's all I have for now. I think we are right on time. It's 11:59. One tip I have here is, you know, practice on your modeling techniques every day. Incorporate all the tips that I gave you. You know, they'll definitely help you. They definitely helped me when I was taking all these certifications. So I think that's about it. Thanks for joining, and I hope this webinar, you know, gave you some insights into how to go about this preparation part of it. I have my email ID on the screen. So what you can do is you can write to me if you have any questions or if you have any doubts. we'll be more than happy to help you. And if you're an existing subscription customer, you can always contact us. So we'll help you with the event IDs part of it. Otherwise, you can go to the SolidWorks website and purchase the exams. So I think I have some more time to open up for Q&A. So okay, I have some questions. What is the duration of the exam? I think I showed you for different segments. It's different. 90 minutes for segment 1, 40 for segment 2, and I think 80 for segment 3. I have one more question. Is SolidWorks standard and edition enough to attempt the exam? Yeah, definitely not a problem. SolidWorks standard will also be enough. There's no feature of professional or premium that we'll be using in any of the segments. I have some questions regarding the advanced CSWPs. What I can tell you is, CSWP has some more advanced certifications, like you have sheet metal, weldments, simulation, surfacing, and then drawing. So the preparation that you need will be a little bit more than what you do for the CSWP core exam. For CSWP core, which is 3-segment exam, all you need to do, or all you need to be an expert is in part modeling and assembly modeling. But when you go to the sheet metal, weldments, and other things, you need to be really, really good at these particular modules. So when you talk about weldments or sheet metal, what I would recommend is go through the training manuals or go through all the tutorials or the training content that you can find online. Focus on every single feature that is there. Like if it's weldments, you might be able to, you should be aware of how to use the end caps, how to use the gussets. If you're in sheet metal, you should be able to generate complex flat patterns out of during the exam, and use every single feature, mitre flange, edge flanges, end conditions, different types of end conditions, how do you calculate how to use gauge tables, bend tables, all those things. So first focus on CSWP. If you are already CSWP, then move on to the next advanced certifications. I have one more question regarding the version, SolidWorks version. Like, can we use SolidWorks 2000 for exam? Definitely yes. Just before, I think it's 2008 or above. Before you purchase the exam, just make sure that you are on the right system. I think the information is given on SolidWorks website, or even before you start the exam, you will be given that information. Yeah, like in this case, this is the welcome screen. So it's saying you must use at least SolidWorks 2008 SP 3.1 for this exam. Any use of a previous version will result in inability to open the testing files. This is very important. And also, I think you'll find this information on the website, SolidWorks website. And let's move on to the next question. I have a question regarding the fee. Yes, this exam is usually purchased online. So you have this link on SolidWorks certification page where you can click on and purchase the exam. But as I said, if you are a subscription customer of Beacon, we will help you in generating the event ID. When you unlock when you use this event ID, that particular certification will be unlocked so that you can take it. I think the value of this exam is $99. All 3 segments put together: segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3 for CSWP. I have one more question. Can we directly go for CSWP without taking CSWA? Yes, you can definitely do that. There's no prerequisite for CSWP, but for CSWE there's a prerequisite. If you're interested in CSWP, I recommend you go to the CSWE certification page and read all the prerequisites. You need to clear CSWP core along with 4 of the advanced certifications. What type of questions are asked in that test? I showed you some of the basic modeling challenges and assembly challenges that they usually ask. Go through the sample exams, go through the YouTube videos. I think there are a lot of YouTube videos which will show you how to prepare for CSWP. There's a lot of content online, and or you can approach us if you are Beacon SolidWorks customers. We can guide you in this preparation part of it as well. And you can always take the exam at your place, or we can we at time to time organize the CSWPs for our subscription customers at our facilities. So I think I have one more question regarding discount for subscription customers. Yes, of course. As I said, for subscription customers, it's free. You don't have to pay anything. We will help you in doing it, in taking the exam. But all you have to do is the preparation part of it. I have one more question regarding the renewal of the certification. There is no renewal. The certification is valid for a lifetime. So even if you take the certification now, it will be valid 10 years down the line. So there's nothing to worry about. I have one request to share the presentation. Yes, what we are going to do is we are going to share this presentation in a PDF form, so you can download it. And also web recording of this video, a video recording will be made available online, so you'll get an email how to access it. So if you want to share it with your colleagues, or if you want to just go through this content again, you can just click on the link and access that particular video. Okay, I think that's about it. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining. I have one more question. What is the minimum time for read test? Okay, if you fail one particular segment, and I think the minimum duration is 14 days. 14-day minimum waiting period is there between 2 consecutive attempts of any segment. But I don't think that will be required if you make sure that you are prepared. So good luck, and I hope all of you who have attended this webinar will be certified the next time we meet. So thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Have a nice day.